Hello there and welcome to the Card Grotto. Today I have an unboxing to share with you. If you followed me for a while, you'll know that I generally don't share unboxing type videos apart from my clearly plotted release videos, because in most circumstances when companies do send me products, I use them and then I will share the cards and whatever projects it may be using the products. But a lot of these products that I'm sharing with you today from Spellbinders are tools, and so I can't really sort of share the actual kind of products with you as such in any other way apart from sort of in a video or something like that. And I know that it's going to take me some time to get through showing you them in tutorials, so because my health isn't always the best, and so it does take me some time to make videos. So I hope you don't mind me sharing this with you, but a full disclosure, all of the products that I'm sharing with you have been sent to me from Spellbinders. I'm under no obligation to share them with you in a video or anything like that, but like I said, I've been using them and I do really like them, so I wanted to share them with you. So first of all, this is the new grid paper from Spellbinders. This is part of their Card Shop Essentials range. And if you've noticed recently, if you follow Spellbinders, they have changed their logo. I really love their new logo. It's really nice and kind of crisp and modern and things like that. So I really like it. And like I said, they've brought out a few new products. So this is the grid paper pad. This is 11 by 17 inch sheets, and there's quite a bit on the pad, not a huge amount like it's really bulky, but quite a bit of sheets. I really like that it's not massively huge, but it's still quite large in size as well. I also really like that the grid lines are not black against the white, and that they're grey, so it's a little bit easier on the eyes, I find. Sometimes with kind of black and white, although I do really like it, sometimes it can distort my sort of eyes, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I don't know if that happens to anyone else, but sometimes it's just a little bit nicer having the grey. So you have a slightly darker grey for the kind of larger lines, and then a lighter grey for the kind of smaller cubes, which is nice. There is kind of numbers on the edge. I'll be honest with you, when I use grid paper I generally don't use the numbers, but it is really helpful if you wanted to use that. For grid paper in general, I tend to use it more for ink blending and things like that, and if there's something that I know might kind of stick to a general kind of craft mat, and that this would be kind of more I don't know what the word is. I reuse grid paper a lot, so and once I've used it enough that I possibly can, I will recycle it. But obviously it is more of a product that you use up, so to speak, whereas like a general kind of craft mat, it's yours for life type thing, unless you damage it. So, but I do really like grid paper. I would do some like ink blending. I would make sure that I'll cover the entire area. I generally don't show that in videos just because it's not particularly nice to look at, if that makes sense, but I will reuse the paper. I'll use the back, I will, you know, everything. The back isn't gridded, it is just plain, but you can, if you're just doing some ink blending or something like that and you don't particularly need the grid lines, then obviously you can just use the back as well. So next up are the new tweezers. I use tweezers all the time, I have to say. I really love these ones. I really like actually that these ones are black. It's just quite nice having, I really like the colour black, so I quite like them in that respect. They are very sharp, I have to say, like the tips of them are very sharp, and I am very much a clumsy person in terms of stabbing myself with things. So they do come with the kind of protective cap, and I personally will keep the protective cap on them, but just a word of warning, they are quite sharp. But I really love that they've got a very kind of sharp point to them as well. That is helpful for certain things. And then I really like these reverse tweezers in particular. Reverse tweezers are really helpful for things like heat embossing and stuff like that, where you want to sort of hold on to it and you don't want to kind of clamp your fingers shut all the time. Really good for like tying bows, holding things together where you're allowing the glue to dry and stuff like that. I in the past have always had reverse tweezers that kind of have like the slanted tip to them, which are okay, but I find that these hold better being a straight tip. And I really love that they've got the kind of like rubberized sort of handle things that are really nice to sort of hold on to. And so if you haven't seen reverse tweezers before, they're basically closed without sort of pushing on them, and when you push on them that they're open. And I really like that these ones do hold very well, especially if you kind of put them right to the edge of what you're holding. This is not going anywhere. I've tried it many times to make sure. With my other ones it kind of just falls out, so that's really nice if you're especially like heat embossing and things like that onto smaller pieces. Is quite nice. You can kind of move things around, and if you're doing like watercolor or anything like that and you want to sort of move things, alcohol inks, anything like that where you might want to move it, I think these are going to be really helpful. And again, they are very sharp on the tip. Again, I really like that they've kind of got this little protective cap for them as well. Next up are some new plates. These are really lovely, I would just say. These are glitter plates, so they're the standard cutting plates. These ones are for the Platinum 6, which is the die cutting machine that I have, and then there are 6x6 cutting plates as well. I honestly am not a huge fan of the colour gold. It's just not a personal preference. I'm more of a silver person, but these are really, really pretty. I really like them. They're clear, but with the gold glitter. Honestly, I'm probably only going to ever, like, when I say I'm not ever going to use them, I'm going to use them in videos, probably more so than general use, just because they're so nice and you kind of don't want to ruin them. I know that is so stupid because that's not the point of having products, but that's just kind of my thing. I think, oh, I don't want to use them, they're just too nice. It's so silly. But what I really love is that they've brought out the 6x6 plates as well, and these are really helpful for partial die cutting. So what you can do is you can use a full plate, and then you can add one of the smaller plates on top, and then anything that is kind of over that edge won't cut. So if you wanted to make a rectangle smaller, for example, you would place the plate in a certain, and then nothing would cut above. If you wanted to do like a half a circle, anything like that, anything you want to do partial die cutting with, these plates are going to be really, really helpful. And it's just nice that they're kind of pretty to look at as well. So next up is the new magnetic pickup tool. This now comes when you purchase the Glimmer hot foil machine, but you can purchase it separately if you don't already have one and your old machine came with these tweezers. So this is what has come with the Glimmer hot foil machine in the past, and you use these tweezers to be able to pick up the hot foil plate. I'll be honest with you, I've never really got on with these things. The idea is that you would use them and it would pick up the plate, and actually they pick up really well. There's kind of no letting go of that. They're very, very kind of magnetic. The issue for me was that I really struggled to kind of release them afterwards, and so now they've brought out this magnetic tool, which is really, really helpful, I have to say. So what happens is it's got a magnet in the end of it, and if you hover it over, it picks up the plate. This is quite a large plate, so I didn't quite get it in the middle. And then to let go of it, you just press this button and it let go, and you don't have to touch it, anything like that. Yeah, it works really well, and this is quite secure. This is quite a large plate, but it is quite secure. I am sort of jiggling it about here and it's not sort of falling over. And then, like I said, you just release it, and then you don't have to touch any of your hot plates, which I think is really, really good. So all of the Glimmer hot foil machines now come with this, but like I said, you can purchase it separately now if the one that you have doesn't have this, so which is really, really good. Then next up are some embellishments. They've brought out these new Colour Essentials gems. So they come in silver, crystal and gold. I have already used the silver, as you can see. They're so pretty. I love that they range from just the tiniest little gem, which is really lovely to put in the middle of flowers and things like that, like a middle size, and then a slightly larger size, but they are all actually quite small. Personally, I do prefer that. When I get packs of gems and things like that, they often come with really large ones, and I never use them. That's just my personal preference, obviously, but I never really use them, and all of these I will definitely use, so I really like that. In actual fact, I do apologise, there is a larger size and then 2 rows of a slightly smaller one, and then 2 rows of an even smaller one, and then 3 rows of the even tiniest one. And what I like about these packs is that, I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but you have like a clearer version and then a solid version, like more an opaque one, of all of the different colours. So that's the silver there. There's also the crystal ones, really pretty kind of iridescence on those. And then also the gold ones. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of gold, but this is a really lovely kind of shade of gold. It's not really like, I don't really like the bright yellow kind of gold. This is more kind of like an antique, and especially these kind of clearer ones, so pretty. I'm really going to enjoy using those. So next up is the new Spellbinders Best Ever Craft Tape. This is kind of like a low tack type masking tape thing. For die cutting, there is a tape that I use, a Scotch tape, that honestly I will continue to use for die cutting. But for hot foiling, I always hold my foiling dies down against the foil. That's personally just how I usually like to hot foil. And in the past, I used something called purple tape. They redid it and it's absolute rubbish now. It doesn't hold anything at all. This to me has replaced purple tape, the old version. This to me has the same amount of adherence as the old purple tape. It happens to be yellow and not purple, which is absolutely fine. I you know, colour is a colour of tape. It doesn't really matter too much. And yeah, it just holds down really nicely. It's also really good for kind of moving things around and stuff like that. I'm sure you've seen Jennifer Maguire use this tape actually, but like it holds down, and then you could kind of move things about if you wanted to then put glue and stuff like that on it, and it does release really quite nicely, but it has got a bit more of an adherence rather than like the new purple tape, which is really nice. So I'm going to be using this for all of my hot foiling. Next up is the Barely Art Glue. This isn't exclusive to Spellbinders, but they have started carrying it, which is really good. And this is this small bottle, and it comes as kind of like a set, so you get, it comes in a really nice little box here and with this kind of cover over it, and it's the mini version. You get the cap with it, and then also the kind of different tips, so you get lots of different tips. I decided to put on the kind of small tip, and then I've added the pin inside. The pin generally is known as like a cleaning tip, so I'm not sure how long this is going to work with keeping it in. So far I've been using it for a couple of weeks and it hasn't clogged at all, no problem whatsoever having this in. But I do know that you can get like a plastic thing, like a rubbery thing, excuse me, that you can kind of fit over the top that stops it clogging as well. But I've had no problem with this pin. It's quite a long pin, which is really good. I found with other kind of applicator type tips like this, they do always clog, but this one so far hasn't. I really love that it's such a thin application with this. I've been using this kind of pretty much exclusively recently for glue, and I absolutely love it. It's really difficult to see probably on screen here. I don't know if my camera's going to focus, but if you can just about see that glue on the cardstock there, that's how it dries. So it's not really shiny, but it's also not completely matte, which is absolutely fine. It's such a fine point tip that I honestly don't think that the glue is gonna kind of seep out or anything like that, but I did want to show you because to me that is quite important. In the past I've always tried to use matte glues just because occasionally glue does seep out, but it's not, for me it's not as shiny as some other glues, and I really love that it's just such a fine tip. So, and it dries really quickly, and also it's really strong. So I've really been loving this glue, and I love that you don't have to press hard on the bottle either, which is really nice. And as you can see here, you just get the tiniest little drops if you wanted to, and if you wanted to cover a larger area, then that's absolutely fine as well. And then I've just been putting, if I can manage to do it, the needle back in, and like I said, it's been fine so far. And then last but not least, this actually isn't a new tool that's just come out. This has been out for a little while, and I had been meaning to do a video on it for ages, so I thought that I would just include it in this. And this is the Quick Trimmer. This was made specifically to be able to cut foil, but they found that as they were using it, that it also cuts cardstock as well, which is really nice. So it comes with two blades, one for foil and one for paper. I've been using it a lot for the foil because I do struggle to be able to cut foil, I have to be honest. You do need some sort of like different types of scissors really, honestly, to be able to cut foil well. But the idea is that you can cut like really thin strips of foil. So you put it between the kind of plates, and then if you want just a very small piece of foil, I'm trying to do it this way at an angle. It's a little bit easier not being on camera, to be honest. So if you just want a very small piece, you just run your blade through the slot here and it just cuts really nicely. And then you can just have a really tiny piece. And because I do tend to foil a lot of sentiments, it's really nice just being able to cut this very tiny amount. You can obviously cut smaller than that as well. If you had a really tiny sentiment. So I'm wasting a lot less foil than I ever did. Quite often with scissors, I found that it would kind of pull the foil a little bit, if that makes sense. If you ever try to cut foil with scissors, it does tend to sort of go a bit jaggedy, and then I find that I'm just wasting a lot of it. So it's really nice, particularly for that. But you can cut sentiments with it as well. So you can use the paper blade for that. Mine are really well into the covers here. I like to keep them in the covers. Like I said, I am a bit clumsy. And so you can position your sentiment between the two lines and you can hold it down, and then again you can cut with this. Oh, see, this is the problem for me. You usually can do it twice. Quite often I kind of stick a little bit of tape on there just so that it's more secure, but obviously on camera these things happen. And then I can cut that, and then I can get a sentiment strip. It's not quite exact as I would probably do it not on camera, but it's quite helpful for sentiment strips in particular to be able to cut with. And I do like that you can get replacement blades for this as well, if you wanted to. And I quite like that it's just quite compact and it's fairly light. You can fit it in a drawer quite easily, and again you've got the covers for the blades and you can replace the blades as well. So I just wanted to share that with you as the last thing to share. And so that was a look at some of the new products from Spellbinders that they've released recently, that again they did kindly send me, but I have been using them a little bit as I've received them, and I've really been enjoying using them. Links to all of the products that I shared will be in the description bar here on YouTube and also over on my blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.